All right, welcome to the Explainer. So we've all been playing around with AI that can write an email, draw a picture, maybe even spit out some code. But something much, much bigger is happening right now. We're seeing this fundamental shift from AI that just creates stuff to AI that can actually do stuff.
I mean, think about it. What if AI could do more than just talk back to you? What if it could actually, go out and achieve a goal you set for it? Not just suggesting a plan, but executing it. That question right there, that's what's driving this entire next wave of AI.
And that really is the core difference right there. What we're all used to is generative AI. You give it a prompt, it gives you back some content. It's an amazing tool, no doubt. But agentic AI, well, that's a whole different animal. You don't give it a prompt, you give it a goal. And it goes out and takes action to get that goal done. So you see, it's less like a tool you use and more like an autonomous teammate you work with.
So here's what we're going to cover. We'll dive into what this new AI revolution is all about. We'll look at how we get from just creating content to actually taking action. Then we're going to peek under the hood and see what makes an AI agent tick. After that, we'll see a whole AI team in action, and then we have to talk about the new risks this all creates. And finally, we'll wrap up by thinking about what it really means when our tools start becoming our teammates.
Yeah, and let's be super clear about this. This isn't just, another small update. The move to Agentic AI is a massive paradigm shift. We're literally going from systems that are passive, ones that just sit there and wait for us to tell them what to do, to systems that are proactive, that can operate on their own to get something done.
So what are we really talking about here? What is Agentic AI? Well, at its heart, it's an AI that can look at its environment, make a plan, and then carry out a whole series of steps to reach a goal. And here's the kicker. It does all of this with very little help from a human. That one word, autonomously, that's the real game changer.
Okay, so that's the high-level idea. But what does this actually mean for us? How does it change the way we interact with AI day to day? Well, it's all about a shift in mindset. We're moving from using AI to just create stuff to using it to actually get stuff done.
Let me give you a really clear example. Let's say you need to follow up with leads from a conference. With the generative AI we have today, you'd say, hey, write a follow-up email. And it does. It gives you the text. But you still have to copy it, paste it, find the right contact, and hit send. With Agentic AI, you just give it the goal, follow up with all my higher priority leads, and that's it. The agent then connects to your CRM, figures out who the higher priority leads are, drafts personalized emails for each one, and then uses a tool, an API, to actually send them. You see the difference? It does the entire workflow, not just one tiny part of it.
Okay, so how in the world does an agent actually do all that? It sounds kind of like magic, right? But when you look under the hood, the way it's built is actually pretty easy to understand. It really comes down to three key parts that all work together to make this whole autonomous thing possible.
And probably the best way to think about it is to just imagine a person, right? An agent is kind of like a person. It has a brain to think, it has memory to remember things, and it has hands to actually do things. Brain, memory, hands. Let's break each of those down.
All right, first up, the brain. This is the thinking part. It's usually a big, powerful large language model, something like Google's Gemini. Its main job is to take the huge, kind of vague goal you give it and break it down into a clear, step-by-step plan. This is the part that does the actual reasoning and problem-solving.
But a brain's not very useful without a memory, right? I mean, imagine an assistant that forgot everything you ever told it the second you started a new conversation. It'd be totally useless. So the memory component gives the agent both short-term memory for what it's doing right now and long-term memory so it can learn from everything it's done before. This is how it keeps context and actually gets better over time.
And finally, we've got the hands. And honestly, this is what really separates an agent from a regular chatbot. The hands are the tools and the APIs that allow the agent to actually interact with the outside world. This is how it stops just thinking about a plan and starts doing it, whether that's searching the internet, firing off an email, or running a piece of code.
Okay, so we've seen the building blocks: brain, memory, hands. Now let's see what happens when you put it all together. And we're not just talking about one agent, we're talking about a whole team of them. Let's walk through a real-world example of how a bunch of specialized agents can work together to tackle a really complex project.
And to make this easy to follow, let's think about some of Google's AI products like they're a human team. You've got the Gemini model, that's the CEO, the big picture thinker. Then you have the Agent Dev Kit, which is like the project manager, making sure everything happens in the right order. NotebookLM is your super smart research librarian, the expert in the room. And then you have a specialist, like an agent called Jules, who is our dedicated software engineer.
So check this out. Here's the scenario. A product manager has a goal. They need research on quantum computing, a technical brief, and a working code demo. Bam! The project manager agent kicks into gear. It tasks a researcher agent which immediately starts digging through internal docs with NotebookLM and searching the web with Gemini. As soon as it has findings, it passes them to a writer agent, which uses the Google Docs API to start drafting the brief. But here's the cool part. At the same time, the Jules agent, our coder, is already building the Python demo. It writes the code, tests it, and then submits a pull request on GitHub for a human to give the final OK. An entire complex project knocked out by a team of AIs working together.
Now, that is incredibly powerful. But, and this is a big but, that very same autonomy, the thing that makes this so powerful, also opens up a whole new can of worms. A really serious new class of risks. We have to talk about how we're going to keep these things reliable, secure, and accountable.
And look, these aren't just some far-off theoretical problems. Gartner's predicting that by 2027, more than 40% of these kinds of agentic AI projects in big companies will actually be canceled. Why? Because figuring out the security and just proving they're worth the investment is turning out to be way, way harder than anyone thought.
The threats themselves are also totally different. We're not just talking about old-school hacking anymore. We're seeing brand new kinds of attacks. Things like prompt injection, which is basically tricking an agent into doing something it's not supposed to do. Or memory poisoning, where you sneak bad info into its long-term memory to make it mess up later. And there's even tool misuse, where you trick an agent into using a bunch of perfectly safe tools, but in a combination that creates a really harmful outcome.
And all of this leads to maybe the single biggest question of all: accountability. Think about it. When one of these autonomous agents messes up and causes real damage, loses money, or worse, who's on the hook? Is it you, the user, the programmer who built it, the company that owns the AI? The honest answer is, we don't know. Our legal system has absolutely no framework for this yet, and that creates this huge, scary accountability gap that we, as a society, have not figured out.
So, where does all this leave us? It feels like we're at a major crossroads. The rise of agentic AI is basically forcing us to rethink our entire relationship with technology. We're moving away from a world where we control our tools to a new one where we have to collaborate with them.
And really, what this is all pointing to is a future where work gets done by these hybrid teams, humans and AI agents working side by side. For a lot of us, our jobs are going to change pretty dramatically. We're going to spend a lot less time doing the grunt work and a lot more time setting the strategy, pointing the AI in the right direction, basically managing our new AI teammates.
And that really brings us to the final question. This isn't science fiction anymore. This stuff is here, right now, and it's getting better faster than any of us can really comprehend. The basic relationship between humans and computers is changing as we speak. So the big question we all have to ask ourselves is, if AI is about to become your newest teammate, are you ready to be its manager?